Good morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Colorful Conversation. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, so hopefully you all can see me. I look like I'm in slow motion on my end. Not sure how it looks on your end. Hopefully not like that. Let me check my... It's not let me do that either. Just let me know in the comments if you can hear me. Hey Carmen, can you hear me okay? I had a little problem connecting, and now I don't know if my good microphone is connected. And I'm looking like Florida flyaways today. Very flyaway-ish. Yes, okay, good. Didn't want to talk to myself for a half hour. So good morning. Today I wanted to share a story about how life happens, especially in our world in the hair salon industry. I opened my first salon at the age of 22. I had no business opening a business. I didn't know anything about business, but I knew that I was passionate about what I did for a living. I loved hair and I loved people. And back then, it was 1989, there was no such thing as a solo suite or booth rental. It was strictly commission-based salons. So I worked in a salon with 20 plus people. I was the newbie, I was the apprentice when I worked there. And a lot of things frustrated me about the way that they were doing business. Even as a young girl at 22, there were things I saw that I didn't like, and I felt frustrated that I never had any control over them. So, after doing soul searching and, thinking maybe I'll go back to college, maybe I'll do something different, maybe this just isn't for me, I realized that I'm a control freak and I needed to do my own thing. So I found a space that was less than 500 square feet, and it was in a neighborhood on a little side street. Talk about the worst location ever. They say location, location, location. I had to fight hard to get clients because I had a terrible location, but the rent was really reasonable. It was small and manageable, and it was less scary than opening this large, 2,000 square foot space. But at the time, I also was newly adulting and had to get my own health insurance, had to get my own car insurance, and all of those things that are not fun to do and they're not fun to talk about. So I'll try to make this a fun conversation while providing value on what I think a lot of you may not be doing that I was not doing, and that now, as someone who's been in the industry 35 years, owned my salon for 32 years, and I'm 54 years old now, I can look back with crystal clear glasses and see the things that I could have done differently had someone guided me in that direction. It's something that most people don't talk about. Hey, what are you paying for health insurance? When you go to a hair show, you may talk about what products you use. Hey, what brand of color do you use? Do you like it? I'm struggling with some things in my color line. I want to hear about yours. Or, what's a good hairspray that doesn't make the bride have a million cobwebs on her head and too stiff? We tend to talk about technique and products and surface level things. We don't talk about, hey, do you lease your car or do you buy your car? And do you have good health insurance, and what do you pay for it? Do you do it individually or as a group? Do you offer it to your employees? They're the conversations that are a little icky, right? People don't want to talk about it. But when you look back on your career and you see the things that you did that were not smart, that compels me to share with you how I would do things differently. So this is going to be one of those conversations you're either interested in or not, because like I said, we avoid those conversations. It's boring. So 22 years old, I opened the salon. I'm a big girl now. I sold my car to get the money I needed for furniture. That was my big business plan. People say, oh, you have to have a business plan and go to the bank. I was like, you know what? This car is a pain in the ass. I don't love it. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to put all that money into the furniture because I don't want to start out with debt. So I got a hoopty, piece of crap car because I didn't really drive far anyway, and I didn't need, a brand new car. So that's all ego. So the car went. The furniture got paid for. I opened the salon. I was busy from day one. Word of mouth spread that, the reason that I was so busy is because I was so cheap. And I say that because I know a lot of you are doing that model right now. You're like, I'm so busy, I'm afraid to raise my prices. You're only busy because you're cheap. So if your work is good enough, you can keep raising your price and you will still be busy. Trust me, I spent way too long being the cheapest to get busy, and it's silly. It's a waste of your time. Off track already. So open the salon, sell the car. So now that I have the hoopty, I don't have to have all full coverage. I only have to worry about the other person because my car is worth about $1,000. So if I get in a wreck, oh well, it's $1,000. So I was able to lower my car insurance because when you're 22 and you're not on mom and dad's insurance anymore, it can be really expensive. You're a fairly new driver, you're young, you're immature. So I was able to lower my car insurance right away. Then with health insurance, I didn't know what I was doing. I made a few phone calls. I was trying to figure out how I could get, I only at the time knew that Blue Cross and Blue Shield was health insurance. That was like the major brand that everybody talked about. That's what I had when I was on my parents. So I reached out to them to get a solo plan, and the rock bottom solo plan that I was on, I didn't know what I was signing up for or what it would and wouldn't cover. I just knew I needed insurance because shit happens, right? And I definitely needed it right away as soon as I got it. So I get like the bare bones, you don't have any money, you're just paying for your own insurance. I forget what it cost me. It was a lot to me at the time. And the first thing that I had to get done was my wisdom teeth out. So I call the insurance company and they say, well, because of this plan that you're on, you need to go to a teaching hospital and you need to have, a student basically taking part in your surgery, and you need to be awake. You can't be knocked out like everybody else because that wasn't covered in my BOBO plan. So I was like, awesome, we're off to a great start. So being naive, of course, I drive myself to the appointment. I didn't know what they were going to, I'm thinking I'm awake. What's the big deal? It's like, getting a splinter taken out or whatever. So I drive to the doctor's office, I check in, I fill out all the paperwork, I sit and wait. This handsome student comes out. He was the one who was learning on me. And I drift back to the room, like staring at him, going, oh wow, I get to look at him the whole time? Well, they of course did local, they put needles in there like you would to get a cavity filled, but it was major. They were taking 4 wisdom teeth out with me being awake. It was horrific. But because of that bad insurance, right? So then I go up to the desk and I'm like half out of it. My face is all swollen. They hand me a thing to wrap around my head with ice. And I go to leave and they're like, is your family member here to pick you up? And I was like, no, I drove myself here. And they said, oh, you can't drive, honey. You just had major surgery. So my parents had gone to the beach for the weekend. They left me. They didn't even think anything of it that I was having this major surgery. That's a whole other coffee chat, but I was on my own. So I called my best friend and I was like, can you come get me? I'm going to have to come back and get my car another day. Like, they're not letting me drive home. So she came and got me. Long story short, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what my insurance covered, and I didn't know any other way. Moving forward, when I got a little bit older and I started to get employees and I wanted employees to be able to not go through what I went through, I started to look into how can I knew I couldn't afford to pay for their health insurance because I was cheap. My salon was the cheapest prices back then. And I wanted them to get coverage. So I started looking into associations. So for us, we have the PBA. You can do a group health insurance through them. I don't know anything about it. I just know it exists. We had Obamacare. I don't know if that still exists because, again, I don't pay attention to these things. And it bites me in the ass because I don't pay attention to these things. So there are other programs and there are other things, but it's a drag to look into it. It's a lot of phone calls with being on hold with that stupid on hold thing where if you like move the phone, it says, somebody starts talking, you think they're getting on and they just tell you to continue to hold. You know that whole drill when you're talking to an insurance company? So I was able to get really good group insurance under my Chamber of Commerce. So if you're looking to save money on insurance or get a better plan, look into your city's Chamber of Commerce. I never even knew what a Chamber of Commerce was for. That was my husband. Once I got married, he was in insurance. He understood all of that. And he said, we need to find a better plan. So that's first and foremost is health insurance. Now, fast forward to I am 26 years old. I have my first baby. I have 2 employees who I taught them everything that I knew from the minute they walked through the door. Both of them were very timid with hair color. They didn't really understand it. They did a lot of really good haircuts. And I was like, guys, you have to learn color because you're going to be able to charge more for color and you want to be a well-rounded stylist and I want you to be booked and make a lot of money. So they became 2 rock stars. By the time I was pregnant with my first child, I had nobody to send my clients to when I was on maternity. So that was something else that I did not plan for financially or business-wise as far as keeping up with my clients. And, you know, my clients weren't going to wait a long time to get their hair done. They needed somebody to get their hair done. So I was floundering, very pregnant, floundering, saying, oh my gosh, I need like a temp. I need somebody who's out of the business, who's home and raised their kids, and now they need something to do to go in and just put touch-ups on my clients. They have my formula. I was in an absolute panic. So that never happened. I never found my temp. My girls were already overbooked as it was, and I would get upset with them when they wouldn't extend their hours or come in on their day off to accommodate my clients. And I look back and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Why would you expect them to do that? But as a business owner, you're so happy that you have the clientele and it takes so long to build. I didn't want to lose the clientele, but I didn't want to lose that time with my child. I didn't want to give up my maternity leave. So being young and not knowing what I was doing, I took, I think, 3 weeks off and then I went back part-time. And one day of the week for me to go back to work, my sister watched my daughter. The other day, my mom watched my daughter. And the other day was Saturday and my husband was with her. So I went back 3 days within 3 weeks. That is my biggest regret of my life. 2 big regrets, both maternity leaves. I did not know any better. I did not know a better way to plan for my maternity. So fast forward, I have my son, I'm pregnant with him. Same thing. Everybody else in the salon is busy, booked, we're like busting at the seams, waiting list, the whole bit. And I'm just like, oh, here we go again. How am I gonna do this with maternity? So in the meantime, someone who was a client and friend, she owned a nail salon in the area, and she got really friendly with the girls that worked with me, and she would come in and get her color done. And she, for the 6 months prior to my delivery, we kept getting tons and tons of her guests as color clients. They would say, oh, you know, so-and-so sent me, so-and-so, and it was the same person over and over and over again. So I'm sending her flowers, I'm sending her staff lunch. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're amazing. You're sending us all these clients. You know, we should have opened a bigger salon together because our clients are all shared by both of us. Well, lo and behold, she was setting me up for a hostile takeover. She was trying to take my girls so that she could expand into hair. The building that she was in, the second floor became available. She planned on moving her hair, nails, waxing, and massage into the upstairs and building out a big, beautiful salon. And her not being in the hair business, just in the nail business, she knew she needed fully trained people. So it wasn't nice how it was done, but it was done. So she infiltrated and was working on them while I was home with my older child and very pregnant with my one on the way. She was slowly pecking at them while she was getting her hair done, like, you know, oh, you happy here? You know, whatever she's paying you, I'll pay you more. I'll pay half your health insurance. I'll pay more vacation. I'll do this, I'll do that. She was promising them the world, and I, of course, did not know this was happening. So a very loyal client happened to be there during one of these poaching sessions, and she called me and she said, and this is like literally maybe 3 days before I delivered my son. She called me and said, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but both of your, I had 3 hairdressers plus me. She said 2 of your 3 hairdressers are leaving together to go work for that girl whose hair they were doing. They described her and I know exactly who it was. She said she was talking about it right in the salon, right in front of me, in front of the other hairdresser. And like, I think you should know that. Like, you're having that. And I thought, oh my God, thank you for telling me. And my heart sunk. It was devastating. It was like, I always used to hear when I was a kid, like, oh, so-and-so's mom had a nervous breakdown. I never knew what a nervous breakdown looked like. Now I know what a nervous breakdown looks like. I was absolutely devastated. So I was such a generous employer that they didn't really own anything in the salon. I supplied everything, the capes, the towels, every product. All they had was their scissors, a couple brushes, and maybe a curling iron. So I went to the salon, very pregnant, wobbled into the salon, grabbed their scissors, curling iron, and brushes, put them in a bag, went to each of their houses, and I said, I know what you're up to. I understand that you're planning to leave, and I'm not sure what your timeline looks like, but it starts now. You no longer work for me. You know, I'm really hurt that this is the way that you went about it. We could have talked about it if you weren't happy, yada, yada. So now I was down to one employee, many clients that were going to need their hair done, and I'm delivering in 2 days. So I'm devastated. I'm like completely beside myself. Didn't enjoy any part of having this new baby and, you know, all that it should have been. It was, oh my gosh, I have to save this business. What am I going to do? So his maternity became maybe 5 days. I got to stay home with him and had to go right back in and save my business. And in retrospect, I'm like, no, I would never do that again, because I can always do hair. I can always find new clients. I can't go back to that first couple weeks with a baby, that bonding experience with a baby, like never, ever, ever again. So I look back now, I'm still getting emotional about it. I look back now and I think, what could I have done differently as far as like that health insurance story? What could I have done to set myself up so that I could enjoy time with my child and planned more proactively for the time away from the salon? And what I found later, much later, after both kids were born, after the possibility of a maternity was over, I found out about Aflac insurance. So Aflac, that annoying little duck that you see on the commercials, is short-term disability insurance, and I never in a million years thought that it would cover maternity. So had I paid dollars a week, I'm talking like $3 maybe a week prior to getting pregnant, I would have had a full paid maternity leave, and I wouldn't have had to worry about money coming in and paying my mortgage and all of those things because I would have been covered. They also have a plan that covers you for cancer. God forbid you or a family member gets cancer and you have to care for them. That clicks in and pays you your paycheck while you're caring for either yourself or a sick family member. It is amazing, and everyone should know about it. If I interviewed 100 hairdressers in a stage presentation that I do at a hair show, I think one or two hands goes up when they say they're covered for short-term disability. How many times have you inadvertently cut your finger so bad that you had to go to the ER to get stitches? I know I have. That's why I'm a colorist now. I don't cut anymore. I've had employees go to the ER the night before Thanksgiving because they were chopping vegetables and turned their head and almost chopped their finger off. So many crazy little things can happen that you don't plan for. You can go skiing and break an arm or a leg. You don't have to be skiing. You can just trip over a curb. My mom has damaged and smashed her kneecap so many times just tripping over those little parking cement section things. So shit happens. And most of us, if you're a hairstylist, you like jewelry, like me. I like my jewelry. I like my handbags. I like my nice cars. We have a lot of ego when we're in this beauty business. We like to look good. We like to be flashy. So as much money as we make, we spend it as fast as we make it. I know that's how I was. So I wasn't a big saver, and I wasn't paying attention to how can I lower my health insurance? How can I lower my homeowner's insurance? How can I lower all of my bills? You tend to just sign up for things and it becomes that monthly thing that you just pay on autopilot. You write out well, back in the day, you wrote out the check. Now it's all online, but you just keep paying it and you don't realize that you can, lower that. I remember being in my late 20s and I got my credit card bill. I had Citibank Visa was my first credit card. And they loved giving young people credit cards. I think I got it when I was like 18 on the dot. And I'm like, they're giving me free money? Like, they love that because you rack up the the charges, and then you live on paying interest for the rest of your life. So Citibank Visa, I think my percentage, and I'm talking, I was 19 years old and I'm now 54. I think back then was like 21% or something. Like they give you the card, you don't pay attention to the interest because you're young and you're just so excited to have free money that you don't pay attention, and it was super high. So once I got married, my husband has more of a head for the numbers and paying attention, all that stuff. And he's like, you need to call them and ask them for a better rate. I'm like, you don't just call a credit card company and say, I don't like your rate, give me another one. He's like, yeah, you do. Called the credit card company. I said, hi, I've been with you for X amount of time. They're like, yes, we see, yes, I was married. Yes, Mrs. Travis, we see you've been with us for this amount of years and you're a loyal customer, and we'd like to lower your rate by 5%. Like just like that. And I was like, I just asked and got 5% off of my interest. So these are the things that you're doing right now. You have all this debt and you're just so exhausted by it that you're like, just pay the minimum so they don't take your stuff. But if you really start digging in and realize you can call them and say, I'm never going to get out of this debt and I need you to lower my rate, or I'm going to move to another card. And there are other cards that are zero interest and you can move the balance. There's creative things you can do, but ask for help. Talk to a client who is a financial advisor and offer a trade. Say, listen, Jim, I know you're like a really smart finance guy and I'm drowning in debt and I don't know how to get out of it. And I need lower health insurance. I need lower credit card payments. I need everything. Can you help me? Let's do a trade. I'll do your haircut if you help me with my finances. Guys love that. They would love to get a free haircut and give you advice. It's not going to take them a lot of time to straighten you out because they do that. They live and breathe numbers and it's easy for them. So looking for ways to trade with people when you don't have a lot of cash flow is another way to get out of debt and save a lot of money. I have a really dear friend that I've been doing a trade with for 30 years. I don't anymore because now I live in Florida, but she continued it with my daughter. Now her and my daughter do a trade. So she comes and gets color every month, and my daughter now gets a massage every month. And she comes to my daughter because my daughter lives above the salon. So she comes, she gets her hair done, she gives Bryn a massage, and it's an even trade. And then Bryn pays the staff member that does her hair. So everybody wins. The staff member gets paid their full commission, Bryn gets a massage, Claire gets her hair done, and everybody's happy. So there's creative ways of doing things like that with the services that you offer. The other thing that I learned from Michael Cole many, many years ago that I wish I would have listened to more closely. I did it, it's like being on a diet or going to the gym. You start out all gung-ho and you're all in and you're so excited. And then, a year goes by and you're like, let me just skip it today. Let me just skip it tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you're back to your old habits. He shared a chart with us that if you start saving as little as $5 a day from the time you're 25, by the time you retire, you are guaranteed to be a millionaire. It's a 100% guarantee, just $5 a day. Well, back then, $1 million was like, holy crap, $1 million, I am saving that $5 a day. So I would take one gratuity, one tip from a client, like a guy's haircut that threw a $5 bill at me, I would shove it into a jar, and when the jar got full, I would cash it in at the bank for $100 bills, and I would save those $100 bills, and when it got to be a big amount, I would put it in the bank so that I wouldn't spend it or touch it. And this went on for a couple years, and then of course I got married, I needed down payment for a house, then you need rugs in the house, then you have a baby and you need, a big birthday party or a christening, or how it goes. All of a sudden that money is just not your retirement anymore. It's money that you need to live. But if you can get in that habit, it's money you won't even miss. You can actually set it up with your bank to take money out of your, like if you're a solo suite owner and you have a bank account for the business, you can set it up where you tell them, take this percentage every single month and just move it into an account I can't touch. Move it into a CD or something that's more locked in, or a stock or something where you're growing that money and you don't even think about it. I would definitely do that differently. Other ways to trade are, I always hated cleaning my house. I'm not good at it. I'm lazy with it. I hated it, but I wanted a clean house. So I had a good friend that loved cleaning, and she couldn't afford, once I stopped being the cheapest salon on the block and we became one of the most expensive salons on the block, she could no longer afford to get her hair done at my salon. And I felt bad because she's my friend. So of course we fall into the whole, oh, she's my friend, I'll give her a discount. So I thought, you know what? No, I don't need to give her a discount. I need my house cleaned. So she would clean my house and I would do her hair. So, win-win. I don't have to clean. She doesn't have to pay the higher price for color. It was well worth it to me to enjoy doing her hair versus enjoy scrubbing toilets and showers. She would literally scrub my shower grout with a toothbrush. She was so good at cleaning and she loved it. So we both won in that scenario. So what are you doing right now that you hate doing? If you hate to cook, I had a client, God rest her soul, she passed years ago, but she knew how much I hated cooking. So I always spoiled her. I would give her, an extra conditioning treatment, or I would wax her and not charge her because I loved her like another aunt. Her name was Mary. I loved her visits. So she caught on at how much I hated cooking, and she would bring me homemade pasta sauce, and she would bring a loaf of crusty bread, the sauce, and then she's like, I even threw the box of pasta in there because I know you hate food shopping and you probably don't even have the pasta. Like, she just got to know me, that that's something that I hated to do, and she knew that my kids and my husband needed a nice dinner, so she would bring me dinner, So they're just ways to try to shave some pressure off of yourself and also, make a good living and get creative with getting those bills down. So take a look at your health insurance. The reason for this chat today is my husband came in the other day and he said, good news. I just talked to our insurance broker and we just saved $700 a month on our health insurance. Our health insurance, it was my husband, myself, and my son, was almost $2,000 a month for health insurance. That's a mortgage. I could have, a beachfront house for the difference in health insurance. But I also have been going through some health stuff, and I've had a CAT scan, an ultrasound, blood work. That stuff, if I didn't have insurance, would have been the end of me. I would have went broke just paying for it out of pocket. So it's a necessary evil in life that we really do need coverage, especially now. I'm 54 and things start to break. I'm like an old car that's starting to break. So reach out to your insurance company and say, I know I have XYZ coverage and I've had it for this many years. Is there any way we can lower this amount? If you're a smoker and you become a non-smoker, that's something to look at. They take a little bit off of your premium if you're a non-smoker. I just heard a statistic on a commercial that smokers live 10 years less than non-smokers. So if that's not an inspiration to quit smoking, I don't know what is. I know I could use an extra 10 years on this planet. So just get creative and pay attention. Don't just take, what is right now for what has to be. There are other ways to do that. Paula just said, I traded with my accountant when I had my salon. That's awesome. So, don't try to do your numbers yourself. Sidra barters with her chiropractor. That's awesome. Yeah, Paula said 401 plan or IRA. Awesome. I wish I would have started my IRA younger. I started it later in life, so it's okay. I mean, I started a new business at 51. I'm far from being able to retire because this is the snowball effect. Because I hated cooking so much and hated cleaning so much, all of my disposable income went for eating out in restaurants. And now at this age, when it's just me and my husband, some nights we'll just have grilled cheese for dinner. Like, I always thought it had to be this big event and like a dinner, which I don't know where that came from because I didn't grow up that way. But we took our kids out a lot. We would go out at least 2-3 times a week, even if it was just, to Ruby Tuesday for salad bar and a mini burger. Like, it didn't have to be, the Four Seasons restaurant, but that adds up when you have 4 people going out to eat all the time, because he didn't want to cook, I didn't want to cook, and my kids, of course, didn't want to cook. And then we went in and out of phases where we hired people who did the dinners for you, the 5 dinners ahead of time, and they come in and cook it in your kitchen, but that got expensive too. So yeah, it's just figure out where your money is going, figure out where the bleed is. I know where my bleed was, and save. If COVID taught us nothing else, it's that we don't know what's next, and who would have thought that all of us would be forbidden to work for that extent of time. Like, that was a long time for salons to be closed. And Most of us, like I said, are not save for a rainy day people. Yes, the government kicked in and gave people some money, but I think there was a lot of people that were caught in limbo. Kind of, I was one of them, because when you own a business, it's different than being an employee to the government. The government didn't help businesses per se, the actual owner paycheck, as much as the employee's paycheck. And then there's people who are blurring the lines between being self-employed and being employed and getting 1099s, and they were not getting the help because they weren't set up properly as an employee. So I think a lot of people learn the hard way to be legitimate with your business. Don't be shady, don't not pay your taxes, because when you get older and you look at that Social Security number, that's a reflection of what you hid back in the day to drive that Porsche. You hid that cash and you paid for those cars and those trips and all of those things, but now you have nothing in your retirement. So I know when you're in your 20s and 30s and even 40s, you're like, oh, I have plenty of time to worry about that. Well, now we're 54 and 57. We don't have a lot of time to worry about that. So we have to continue to work and make up for what we lost with being frivolous with our money. I don't regret any of the travel that I did. I do regret a lot of the going out to eat unnecessarily. The regular Tuesday night in February at home going out to eat. Because I gained a lot of weight. My kids gained a lot of weight. We're all working on getting it off now. We had fun putting it on, but we all are struggling to get it off because, as you know, when you go to a restaurant, that grilled cheese that you ate at home is, for me, I make it with very minimal butter on the bread. They're putting like a stick of butter on that bread and 4 pieces of cheese, where I'll do 1 piece of cheese. So everything out of the restaurant tastes better because it's a lot more fat, a lot more sodium, a lot more sugar, a lot more everything that's not good for you. So as you get older, you can't do that anymore. Now you have to order gluten-free and, be so careful about what's in everything and how much sugar and, all that fun stuff. So thanks for listening. I hope that something I shared with you will help you. I see a lot of you on here, like Sidra, you guys still have time and you're much younger and your kids are much younger. So don't ever put your business before your children. That's my biggest regret. My salon was my first baby. I was 22 when I had her, and I always put her first. I missed a lot of things with my kids. My husband was with them. Trust me, they weren't neglected, but I wasn't. And you can't turn back time and get that time back. So figure out a way to be smart about your money and save money where you can so that you can be with your kids and, put them first, because they grow up really quick and they leave the nest very quickly, and then, it's too late. Can't go back. So thanks for listening, and I will see everyone on the next one. Have a great day.